So now
Yes,
tell me
ma'am.
what is
Yes, ma'am.
landscape architecture. Already I gave the answer in front of you, but you just define what is landscape architecture. What do you understand by now, like no, after your first semester? What you understand the term or landscape architecture can be defined in a better way. Just define on your own thing, like no experience, whatever you have learned. How to define landscape architecture.
Ma'am, the design of an outdoor area by trying to add on some elements which can be for more interactions and beautification of the place. Ma'am, can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, I'm just typing your answer. So we will look out what are the answers coming from your side. Design of an outdoor area for aesthetics, okay? From your point of view.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So others can also tell the points like this.
I'm developing
Ma'am,
or creating a developing an existing landscape or creating a new space in order to make it a place for uh, a better place for people to um, what to say, to understand its sustainability and and use the space, man.
Okay. So I have given it like this. Developing an existing landscape for creating a better place for community.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
So Selvin has given adding green or vegetation to your space to connect the space with the nature. Okay. So um, shall I say greening of a space? Okay. What else? I want more answer from all of you because, as I said, it's an evolving profession. Like wherein, like no new definitions were like no day by day. Like no recently, ISOL has given a new definition. IFLA has accepted, and ISOL has framed a new definition, and they have given for the landscape architecture. So day by day, it's evolving. So as we visualize and as we work on, our perception change, and we can add on more things to it. So you can also one of the theorists who can bring in a new theory for the landscape architecture also. So that way, the field is having a huge thing, like no, a huge platform in front of you. So what else? Any other answers? I got three answers. Design of an outdoor area for aesthetics, developing better place for community, greening of space. Okay, a place for well-being. Okay, so shall I give it like this place for well-being of living beings? What else? Giving life to the vacant space.
Restoration of any um, barren land or site.
Okay, that is open space development.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Green space inside an urban space can reduce the pollution. Niveta, everybody can switch on that thing and we can hear your voice, ma. It will be very lively. Where you want to type in? Selena has given that thing because her mic is not okay. Designing a green space inside an urban space can reduce the pollution. Okay. So you want the green space as a for the enhancement for the better environment. Okay. So landscape can provide a better environment. So that could be the apt thing for your sentence. Green and aesthetic environment. to visually impact the end user and for the mental well-being. Alfia, Jasmine, why you are not opening your mouth? You're typing.
Ma'am, actually, I'm not feeling well, ma'am.
What happened?
Ma'am, fever, cold, all the things have
Mm.
Even I'm not well, ma'am. That's
Who is
why.
this?
Alfia,
Jisuba?
ma'am.
Alfia. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened to your cat? It's
Ma'am,
also
one
not feeling
cat
well?
passed away, ma'am.
Oh my God. Why you have not taken care of that?
No, ma'am. Street cats attacked it, ma'am. It passed away.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Visual impact end user for the mental well-being. Okay. Visual. Alfia can be visual appraisal of a place. So we get lot of definitions. So it's a never-ending thing. So that's why they have given like no artistic and scientific principles. So even they categorize landscape architecture as a science, and as well as like no the artistical way of improvising a landscape. And you have lot of things connected. There is no proper thing like no it is not ending. Like no the definition is not ending. So we have lot of definitions that developed even till now we are actually developing. So even next year we can give like no if you want you can improvise the definition. We can give like a better meaning for the landscape as we list down a lot of things. It provides lot like no I cannot end up saying like no it's a profession which applies artistic and scientific principles alone. Now even the philosophy comes here, the behavioral science come here, psychology plays a major role here. So I cannot end up saying one particular definition to landscape architecture. So you that just wanted to show like no the depth of it, like how far it can go. And as I said, like no a person who develops land for the human use and enjoyment, not only for the human use but for all the living beings. So that is the latest definition. Like no after like no environmentally redefining the landscape architect's role, he play a major role in the betterment of the society and the environment also. So the Frederick Law Homestead is a very popular name. All of you would have known the Central Park he developed. So I imagine the huge space in the US. Like this shows the role of landscape architect, the master planning of the city in 1890s itself. So Baron Mannings was the major brain behind all these open spaces what you see in US today. So he was he played an important role in the master planning of the complete America. And he just preserved all the open spaces first, and then he connected the open spaces, and then the development have been like no started framing up all the developments in the leftover spaces. That's how US has been planned. So that's why like no when we take the history also, US play a major role, and we take Olmsted as a father of landscape architecture because he has evolved so beautiful projects which still like no stay as like no a project which can blend with any generation or any era also. So it's a complete like no uh, great brain behind like no the ASLA or the American Society of Landscape Architects. Great brainy people were behind it. Warren Mannings was one. Frederick Law Olmsted was one. Calvert Vaux was another one. Calvert Vaux and Frederick Law Olmsted were both together actually developed everything. But like we say, no, generally the fortune plays very good for few, and Frederick Law Olmsted has got a lot of fame. But Calvert Vaux was a great person who also like no have given the equal contribution along with Olmsted in all his projects. But somehow Frederick Law Olmsted has got a lot of like no name in the field, and he's considered as a father of the landscape architecture. And now coming to the history of landscape architecture, where it started from the earlier days. So I'm going to earlier centuries, like what happened in the earlier centuries. And then I'll be coming to India because India has a lot of pride in it. So I don't want to start from India. I want to show the history of the landscape from the other parts of the world. And I'll be then moving on to the India. So history of landscape architecture started um, very early We can say like 5000 BCs early, so very 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 old history it has. So as you say, like the beautiful definition about the landscape architecture is everything under the sky is falling as a scope for landscapes. So all landscape architecture scope of scaping everything under the sky. So our scope is very huge. So whatever it has been scaped by the human beings from the earlier days, there was a attempt to recreate the spaces in the as a built landscape in the earlier days, with a lot of sacred meanings as well as the spiritual values have been added to it in the natural phenomenon, as a way to preserve it, or the way they adored the landscape or the nature. So that was the important thing. More than the landscape can be the nature, wherein the earlier as we say, the ancient people, or the forefathers, uh, who adored the nature a lot. And it all started from the early garden, that is called as a Hebrew. It is a Hebrew word. Garden is a Hebrew word. Garden means, gar means space. Gar, the first thing will be called as space, and den means Eden. Eden is a pleasure or the enjoyment. A place that gives lot of pleasure and enjoyment is actually the word garden means. So that is an Hebrew word. But generally, when it comes to garden, the gar, that space, whatever they call it as a space for the pleasure and enjoyment, it's generally in a protected area, or it will be fenced, or it will be demarcated from the other space. So we can call it as enclosed with a physical or a visual barrier. So that will be demarcated from the other area. So this is the actual definition for the garden. So it's a space where it is protected or demarcated from the other spaces, and which will give the pleasure and the enjoyment. So this is how the garden, the word, has been framed in earlier days. And landscape, which is related to the spiritual or cosmological belief that is being practiced in the prehistoric period. We can call it as prehistoric period, very very earlier period. Lot of interaction between the man and nature was actually happened during this time, when man slowly understand the nature. So it's completely a period wherein now we overruled everything in the species evolution itself, in the food web, in the food chain, everything we have overruled, and we come to a stage of egoistic egoistic relationship with everything. So the man dominated all other living beings. But in earlier days, understand, the humans are trying to understand nature. They doesn't know anything. So they the ignorance what they had about the nature. They had a lot of the unknown factor. They are not able to understand what is in front of them, how the nature exists, what the tree is existing in front of them, how it evolved. Nothing. They understood nothing. So thus they started looking at the nature as a god itself, some superior power than them. So they started to look everything as an amazing and a godly feature, whether it's a tree or a mountain, or it is a sun, or whatever celestial objects they see, everything, it's a amazing fact for them. And they don't have a proper definition for it, or a scientific understanding of what is happening around them. So they just simply looked at the nature as a worshipping element. They started loving that particular nature that existed in front of it. So this is how the earlier human beings, the prehistoric people, started having a connection with the nature. So we call it as an very prehistoric landscapes. And then slowly, the antiquity comes in, that is the middle age. Before middle age, after the prehistoric period, the ancient, we call it as ancient landscapes, where the people and the connection between the nature existed as a symbolic element, or which is connected to the spiritual, and so many understandings connected to that particular nature, and they started worshipping the nature. And after this ancient period, there comes the middle age period, wherein um, uh, there comes a new thing of lot of fear factors that is coming out of the ignorance. The people who see the element, the natural resources as the worshipping element, now a fear got into them, saying like how they could behave, what is behind it. So the ignorance has created a fear among the people, even to look at the sunrise or sunset or a thunder that happened. So they thought there is some power behind it, and it is more than the worshipping that happened in the Middle Ages, a fear that got into. So when they see any wild nature, they think themselves that there were a lot of demonic creature that was inside it, or like no, you got the stories of a ghost, or like no, some godlessness that happened in the wilderness. That was a belief that is going on in the middle age landscapes. Then a period of renaissance come in, wherein like the people wanted to destroy the wild space, and they want to bring in like no, the pastoral landscape, or like no, cattle rearing, the farming and other practices were coming in the renaissance period, which is for the betterment of the human beings. So slowly after the renaissance period, we got enlightenment period. The people find the land as a beautiful element, where they cultivated, they formalized, they wanted to make the land look more beautiful. So garden were brought in the enlightenment period. And then the modern age started, with which developed with lot of multiple paradigms and lot of holistic approach to the landscape. Mm, maybe a common approach to transform a beautiful landscape in the modern ages that happened. And after the modern ages, there was one period called as romanticism happened, which was the acknowledgement of landscape as an aesthetical value. So a lot of beautiful picturesque, so those things were given, scenic landscape are given more importance during this period of romanticism. And after that, like no, we got the environmental period that will be dealt in the theory too. So this was like no, the slow transformation that was happening in history of landscape. So the earlier people who have lot of connection with the nature, and the nature actually gave a place for the human to stay in. Slowly it has been transformed. When you come to the 20th century, the human now give place for the nature. So if they want, they keep the patch of the land as a forest, or they destroy it, or just a tree is left over, and even the tree is removed for the settlement practices. So this is how like no, the landscape has been slowly transforming from the earlier days. And as you listed so many definitions, now all the definition will be playing major role in one or the other thing. Like as you said, like no, the betterment of the human beings. Yes, of course, the Renaissance period it happened. Yes, the beauty of the aesthetic that happened in the Romanticism period. The welfare of the community that happened. In the enlightenment period, through the design of open spaces, green spaces, gardens and other things. And like the fear that made like no, remove the wilderness from the particular place. So all these definitions have been listed by you people, like no, you are saying so many things which have been the hidden behavior, or like no, it has been insisted in our minds from the earlier days by our ancestor, by your forefathers. So it's all coming out of your mind, because this is how we are looking at the spaces or the landscape, which has been registered in our memory, that is like no, inbuilt memory which is passed on through several generations. So that you also, you'll be looking into the theory, philosophies and theories. When we are looking into, we will be looking into these areas also, how not only the physical things, or actually physical features have been transformed from your ancestors and forefathers, although also their mental and the behavioral things also, patterns are also being given inside you. So that will be always finding a traces in your mind, and we are able to say like no, relate it to the various terms we see the landscape as, whether it's as a worshipping element, or as a fearful element, or as a like no, aesthetical element, or the well-being of the human beings, or well-being of environment. So all these things have been slowly scaped by the way like no, we are living for several years together from earlier days. So the traces are there, and the landscape hold a huge memory in it. So they say even the water has a huge memory. So even the people and others may change, but the landscape, the mountains and the rivers are going to stay there, and it's going to carry the memory of so many people who lived in that particular places through various times. So it is building memory over the particular landscape. So the particular landscape feature will hold back all the memories in it. So it has been scaped by different people at different types, and slowly it has been transformed. And what we see today is not actually what it was. So whatever we experience is not the actual experience. It has been processed through so many stages. So that is what we will be working in our design elements also. Whenever we are designing, it has been scaped through so many process. So we'll be understanding the context first clearly, and then we will be trying to uh, analyze it, find out what are the things happened over it over a period, like no, what are the temporal and the spatial transformations that happen to a particular place, and how it has been like no regenerated, or like no it has been degraded, or whatever it happened. You are analyzing, you are finding out the issues that has been carried out, as I said, temporally and as well as spatially. Time and the space have a lot of connection together, and then we are understanding the issues, and then starting giving the solutions to that particular problems. This is how we address any problems in our design solutions also, in your design problems whatever you're going to work on. So in the prehistoric period, how it started, so wherein I said like no, there was a huge ignorance, or like no, where the people loved everything they had in front of them. They loved the nature, and nature overruled everything in this world. That was a beautiful period wherein, like no, the nature dominated the whole world. It was full of like no, the energy and a lot of the good things that was happening. Like a good environment was there, clean air was there, clean water was there. Everything was very clean in the earlier period. So those period, the human have a huge respect over the nature. They adored the nature. They respected even each and every individual trees or leaves, or even like no, the whatever mountains they see. So they started adoring all those nature in front of them. So that is the period when we call those landscape as cosmological landscape, which have a spiritual connect, and we don't know like no, where from it comes, or like no, and we have connected how like no, the sun, that is the celestial objects, whatever we see as some force or a power that existed, and that has a connection with this world. So we call this concept in earlier days as axis mundi. Axis means that is the orientation, axis mundi. So wherein like they say the story of the underworld, the earth and the upper world. So all the religions we take, we have these stories. So they all shows the prehistoric connections with the landscape. So we too have the underworld, the earth and the heavenly world. So how it has been connected, even though we cannot see all these things, there is always a belief saying like people go after the death to somewhere else, or like they stay here, or like no, there is something like a demonic creature staying there. So many beliefs and myths were surrounding it. The axis mundi is like whether it is a pyramid or a mountain or a tree, everything has an axis mundi. It has roots beneath, it has a trunk which is seen, and a canopy which is seen as the upper world. So this is the earlier concept of like the spiritual symbolic significance for a particular place. So the landscape started by digging the place, or like by creating a mount. We are trying to scape the land what we see in front of us, mimicking the features that existing in front of us. Like whether we see a mountain or whether we see a water body, we try to mimic the same thing as you studied your landscape construction, earthwork construction, cut and fill. So this was a major scaping we are doing. We cut and we fill it somewhere else. So everything is like no reutilized somewhere. So cut and fill was a major thing that was happening from the earlier days. So this will have the same connection when we see in the various regions also all over the world, and all over the religions also. We have a very beautiful connection in understanding the landscape around us. So it was like 8,000 years ago or 10,000 BC years ago, what happened in the earlier days. So we call this particular landscape as cosmological landscapes. The first division is cosmological landscape. All of you need to have a note of all these things, because in the theory alone you will be writing a lot and you will be remembering a lot, about the different places. So just have a note of writing it down, as well as remembering the particular place in your mind. It will be easy for you to write in the exam, because you will have lot of places coming here and lot of names also will be coming here. So it's very difficult for you to keep all those things in your mind. So you need to connect with the storytelling or a rote memory concepts. You have to connect all these things and you have to keep in your mind. So as I said earlier, landscape, we are into the prehistoric landscape. In prehistoric landscape, we have the beautiful concept called as cosmological landscape. That is landscape connected with the prehistoric earthworks and patterns. We don't know the meanings of it, but they have been somehow done, and why it has been done is still a question mark. People are exploring it, and we call them as a cosmological landscape, wherein these landscape have lot of connections with the cosmos, that is the celestial objects. So whatever celestial objects you see in the night sky, they try to depict and they try to understand something, and they try to depict it in the lands, they escaped in the lands as a symbolic element to represent the celestial things that is happening above their head. So we can see anything that is below the sky, we are taking it as a scope. So this is a beautiful example where in the cosmological landscape we are taking a huge clue from the universe, what is existing around us, and they try to depict something in the landscape that may also relate something connected with the people who lived at the time, or what kind of connection they would have got from the the other heavenly bodies that existed around us. Maybe those things are also connected, which is still a question mark, and a question mark of exploration. All this belong to the cosmological landscape, that is prehistoric landscape. So only the evidences are left over, but we don't have a proper thing to say this is how it has been built, or this is the meaning behind these things. But a lot of explorations and scientific researchers have been conducted in these places, and they're trying to find out some secret from these particular places also. And after this prehistoric landscape, we will be having the ancient gardens, wherein the hints were left over, a part of glimpse of that particular history is left over, so we can understand where from it is and why it has been designed. So there it will be study about gardens, parks and villas will be happening in the ancient gardens. And after that we will be studying about the landscape architecture evolution. That is, we have lot of sacred sites developed all over the world, like temple grounds or buildings or important site plans. So palaces are being built, so all those will be coming as a landscape architecture evolution. And then the final thing will be the genus loci, that is the holy spirit of a place. So any place will have a genus loci of its own. It will have its own, the particular spot will have a spirit of its own. So it will automatically reveal what should be done to that particular place. So that is called as a genus loci. So these are the earlier landscapes what we will be looking into. The cosmological landscape is the first part in the prehistoric. So the first thing we are going to see in the cosmological landscape is New Grange, Ireland, that is 3200 BCE. And I'm not talking anything about India or the Asian civilization, which is very, very older than these things. So 3200 BC, New Grange, Ireland. This is considered to be very, very earlier, the prehistoric landscape, wherein the solstices of the summer solstices and winter solstices have been incorporated in designing of this particular landscape. So that has been researched, and they have understood something it has been particularly designed for this thing. So it will be a circular tomb. So you can see this is a World Heritage Site, and you can see a mound has been created. So everywhere it will be a digging up or a building up a mound. So the Grange, New Grange site in Ireland, in England, we have a lot of prehistoric landscapes which have been recorded. Actually, the printing press has been started from the European civilization, and we have a lot of recorded history of these the Western civilization rather than the Eastern and the Asiatic. So that's the reason why we don't have a proper evidence document saying like, no, this is how the history started. So even the books are there from the landscape architecture from the Western world, but not from the Eastern civilization or from the India. Now the people are working on that, like, know how to work on and understood the earlier importance and the significance from the Eastern as well as Asian civilization. And so many people are researching on that. Even in the thesis, your seniors are working on the Tamil landscape, earlier Tamil Sangam landscape, and they are working on all 5 landforms, and they are finding out a lot of documents that is proving like how the earlier landforms existed. So even in MIT also, the students are working on the Sangam landscapes. So like that, from every region, you may have the ancient landscape that is hidden. We need to explore, and then we need to find out like where these spots were lying, and like which shows the evidence of their existence in the earlier period. These are the these are still remaining there. The remnants are remaining there and tells like this existed from the earlier period. So this was a circular tomb, and which marks the winter solstice as well as the summer solstice. And you know what is winter solstice and summer solstice? The summer solstice longest period of a day, June 21, and winter 22, December 22. The winter solstice, the shortest period of the year. So they have beautifully marked it, and they framed in such a way the sunlight falls in the particular point on the summer solstice and the winter solstice. So you can see this is a passageway. So from this, the sun will be falling inside. Okay, the particular cave form of structure they have created. So earlier it has been taken as like a lot of things have been assumptions have been made, like it's a burial ground, it is a burrow or a mortuary house, or so many things. But we haven't got like what it is actually built for. Then the second thing is like the 2950 BCE Stone Age UK. So built by different groups of people at different time. So it was like Stonehenges. So even Stonehenges were seen in our India, like we call that as Sumaitangikal. So we have 2 stones, and over that we will have one more stone kept over. So that was used for like the travelers to keep their bags when they go for a long travel, or else like earlier days when a child or like people die before their age, they used to build this tomb stones as a symbolic representation to give the honor for the particular people. This Stone Age civilization was seen all over the world. So if this is 2950 BC, and even earlier itself, it has been seen in the other parts of the world also. This is a recorded one, and similar to that in 2000 BCE, wooden henge is also like Stonehenges. The wooden henge is also seen in the places near to this, the Ireland and the UK. This was a prehistoric landscape that has been recorded in UK. Still, it is there for us to understand. As you see the first New Grange and then the Stonehenges, you can see the several stones, lot of stones. These are being removed. Only this is now standing. So they have a lot of stones here. These stones have been transported from the nearest hill, Celestine stone, and they have some blue stones also, small blue stones existing nearby, which is taken from a faraway place. So the resource is also being taken here. And the thing is, like, they are very huge. It's not very easy to carry during those earlier days. One thing should be the man should be very gigantic, or they need some help of animals and other things to transport this to this huge distance and to arrange. And this has been arranged in such a way that they have connection with the summer solstice, and to just act like a sundial or sun calendar. They act like a calendar for the people, whole people. So there was some civilization that was happening which talks about there is some understanding between the cosmological relationship, or it is showing some symbolic value, but still it is under exploration. The people cannot understand. So most of the cosmological landscape have been created, still it's existing, but we cannot actually trace out what they are and why they have been formed, all those things. Even now, if we move on to the near to the rivers and all, if you move along the edges of Kaveri River or Pala River, we can see these kind of tombstones, like no, or earlier stones that have been piled over a particular place, arranged in a circular way, which shows the or symbolize like there was an earlier settlements existed there, or that has been like no a burial ground of some people, or like no, it shows the territory of living for a particular community or a people there. So still we have lot of things which has not given more importance, but they made this as a beautiful heritage site. So all that existed in UK, still they are preserving and well maintained, and it has been turned as a tourism as well as like no research area also for the understanding for the archaeological department. So there'll be heel stones, and this will be like no, they'll be perfectly orienting to the sun's direction, and you can see north south and east west, and there will be like no if slaughter stone, or like no where a sacrifice stone will be there, wherein like all sacrifices will be given, and this will be acting like a sundial. So you can see all the shadows also. This actually tells a lot about like know how they understand the planetary positions or celestial bodies on the sky, and they try to bring in. So there will be a huge like no, they dug a huge like a canal kind of thing, and there will be banks, the embankments to prevent this, and this will be the huge platform. And they have not selected this spot on a hill or something, they have selected a flat land and they have executed the stone hinges. So you can see the orientation. So this was the earlier existing, but many of the stones are missing. So whatever it's left over now, they are preserving it with the utmost care. You can see like know how over each period and the month, the sun will have a different like know the angle, and it will be seen through that particular stone hinges. So the two stones and the heavy stone, these is unimaginable weight, and how they have been brought in and they have been executed is still a question mark. So that shows like a lot of things, like how what kind of things they had during the earlier period to bring it. So as I earlier mentioned, it was the sarsen stones, and there were also blue stone that is existing, so which was 25 miles north of Salisbury Plain. So they have to transport to huge things, and they are also like no blue stone that has been transported from 200 miles away from Wiltshire. So what is the purpose of bringing all those things here in the earlier days? So they escaped somehow. They are leaving some symbolic evidences for us to understand like why they have created this. So you can see this is the location of Stonehenge and Ireland, and Woodenhenge will be nearby itself. So they are all connected with the alignment or an axis. This was Stonehenge. Like they believe that it has been built by three cultures, like one layer, second layer, and the third layer. So three different, like as we say, dynasties of people during different eras, stone era and bronze era. The three layers were built in, and what we see is the latest era that is left over. That's a evidence of showing like no that thing. So they have also like. Rearranged few things which has been destroyed from that they have brought into the site, and now they are preserving the whole site. And when we look at the Stonehenge, that they are showing some importance in the axial location also, the latitude and longitude, and the azimuthal angle calculation. And if you see the solstice also, it has lot of connection. It's falling perfectly on that degrees of azimuthal angle and other thing. So this all shows like how marvelous in a prehistoric period the people have worked on a landscape like this, which depicts a calendar for the whole region. So this shows our ancestral wisdom. We call this as a wisdom, ancient wisdom we hold. So like that, every place have ancient wisdom. So all over India, we have several states, and each state will have the ancient wisdom of its own place that is not seen anywhere else. The ancestors, through their wisdom, they have explored which is important for that area, and they have brought in that. So this is the location of Stonehenge. This is the location of Woodenhenge nearby itself. So there is something to tell, like, no, why they have created this Stonehenge, why they created a Woodenhenge, which are all connected together in an axle when they are traveling. So this is a wooden hinge, just like the stones you have seen there. This was wooden cut logs. We can see only cut logs. We don't know whether it has been cut purposefully or it has been planned in such a way. But it will be like no huge number of cut logs like this arranged in a circular way, and that dates back to 2500 BC. So they are arranged in a pattern to symbolize something. You can see like how it has been arranged. So they are also taking the celestial objects and the sun solstice as an important thing. And now that have been well preserved by the government. So this was like how they perceived earlier how it should have been. So they have perceived some frameworks. So this is how Stonehenge and the Woodenhenge, they have a connection, and they say a lot of things were related together.